Okay, so in today's lesson, we're looking at an alternative method you can use to trigger audio sources to play audio. We'll be looking at how we can use the play one-shot function that they provide for us to play our sounds. We'll also look at why we might use this over the play function and for what type of audio we'd want to use play one-shot for. This lesson should be a nice, simple one for us to get through and learn from, but will become very helpful to use as we continue into later lessons in this module. So let's get started. So first off, what is play one-shot? Well, in Unity, play one-shot is a public function that is accessible to us through the audio source component like the play function. And like the play function, it is used to tell an audio source to play an audio clip. Unlike the play function, the play one-shot function can actually assign an audio clip to the audio source at the moment it is used. We'll look more into what this means in a bit, but first I want to talk about what playing a one-shot means in relation to audio implementation in general. By the term one-shot, we're referring to short, single sound effects that do not loop. Generally speaking, depending on how they are triggered in a game, sound effects such as footsteps, gunshots, UI sounds and more can all be referred to as one-shots. Because one-shots are so short and do not loop, they're both very common sounds in video games and are simple to work with when it comes to implementation. For example, unlike a long piece of music or a dynamic ambience, you can tell a one-shot to play without needing to specify when it is that the audio source should stop playing it. Unity and most other video game audio systems will recognize when the sound effect has reached its endpoint and remove the voice or instance of that sound effect from the game. Like I said, playing one-shots is a very simple concept, but a very important one. So now that we understand them, let's look at how we might tell an audio source to play a one-shot in our tanks game. Now, to demonstrate how to use the play one-shot function, we're going to be editing the tank shooting script that we looked at in the last lesson. So once again, make your way through your assets folders until you find the complete tank prefab file inside of the prefabs folder. Once you've done that, open up the prefab, scroll down to the bottom of the inspector tab until you find the tank shooting script, and then edit it to open it up in Visual Studio. Okay, so in the last lesson, we added a private audio source variable to this script, as well as an audio source component to the prefab file of the tanks. We then used that audio source to play a gunshot sound by using the fire function we learnt about in the last lesson. Inside the fire function, we told the audio source to play by using the public play function, and that worked fine. But in this lesson, we're going to replace the play function with the play one-shot function, as it will be more suitable seeing as we're trying to play a short audio clip that we don't want to loop. So first, let's remove the play function. To use the play one-shot function, you simply write the name of your audio source variable, which we've done, followed by the dot operator, and write play one shot with capitals at the beginning of each word. And of course, because it is a function, follow that with 2 parameter brackets. Now, in order for the play one-shot function to work, it requires a particular type of data to be fed into it as an argument. It requires a reference to the audio clip we wish to play using it. So let's scroll back to the top of our script to where we declared our audio source variable to do this. Now, in Unity, we can get a reference to an audio clip in the same way we can get a reference to an audio source by creating a public variable of the audio clip type and assigning a clip to it in Unity's inspector. So let's start our variable by writing the word public. Next, we'll declare the type. Now, because we want to store a reference to an audio clip inside of this variable, the data type will be the audio clip reference data type. And by that I mean we just need to write audio clip. Finally, we can give it a name. Whenever I create an audio clip variable, I simply like to call mine clip. But you can call yours something different if you like. The last thing for us to do is pass this variable into our play one-shot function as an argument. So let's scroll back down to our function, and inside of the brackets, write the name of our audio clip variable. So now our function will play whatever audio clip we've referenced inside of the clip variable. However, at the moment, it is empty. So in order to give it a clip to reference, let's save and jump back into Unity. Okay, now that we're back in Unity, and after our script has finished compiling itself, we should see our new audio clip variable appear in the inspector tab on the tank shooting component. So there it is at the bottom. Well, once it has, we can click on the small circle next to it and scroll through all of the different audio clips we have in this project. So find the shot firing audio clip and select it. One last thing we need to do is remove the audio clip that we set to the audio source in the last lesson. To do that, click on the circle to the right of the audio clip field and select none. This is simply because it isn't necessary, despite the fact that it wouldn't make a difference either way. Now, what makes the play one shot function unique is that you can actually use a single audio source to play multiple audio clips, one after the other, even if the first clip you triggered is still playing. But to make the point that we don't need an audio clip loaded into the audio source to begin with, we'll keep ours removed. So now that our clip variable holds a reference to the clip that we wish to play, let's jump back into our script. One last thing we can do with the play one shot function is actually override the volume property of our audio source and set a new volume level for it each time we use the play one shot function. By default, we know that the volume of our audio source will play our sound at a level of 1. But if we wish to change this, we feed float data into the function next to the audio clip we're playing. So if we wanted to, we could add a comma next to the name of our audio clip variable and write, say, 0.8. So now our play one shot function will play our audio clip at a level of 0.8, or 4/5 of the maximum volume. Thankfully, changing the volume of our audio source in this way is optional, so you don't have to add any float data here if you don't want to. But with that, we've added everything we need in order to use the play one shot function. So let's go ahead and save our script, jump back into our game, and take it for a test run. So let's save our prefab and play our game. Okay, let's once again fire off some shells and see if we hear our sounds. Great, we hear them play as we expected them to. So, like I said at the beginning of the lesson, one-shots are a nice and simple concept to grasp. We now know that they're best used for short audio clips that don't need to be looped. We've learnt how we can use the play one-shot function to use a single audio source to play multiple audio clips on top of each other whilst others are playing. We also saw how we can change the volume that our audio source plays each audio clip at directly within the function. Now, the main advantage to using the play one-shot function over the play function in Unity, in my opinion, is that we can tell our game which audio clip we want to play right as we tell it to play in our script. Because surely that means that if we wanted to, we could tell it to play a different audio clip each time, and maybe even randomly choose which audio clip we wish it to play for us. Well, that's what we'll be looking at in the next lesson. As always, feel free to go over this lesson again or check the additional resources for this lesson if you need some extra help. But once you feel confident with play one shots, head on over to the next lesson.